Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is a power-packed panel. We have the visionaries of the marketing world, and my neighbor is the champion of market dominance, not just in India. He's recognized globally as somebody who's been able to transform a huge behemoth company into a digital, uh, fast-moving automotive strategy player. Then we have Arnaud, who is a true global leader. He's worked across sectors and he's known as the final word on most of the measurement science and cross-media platforms, and he'll be able to give us a lot of insights into how the rest of the world is working and what he has plans for India. Then we have Shuvadip. He's basically the visionary behind ITC. The ITC group, actually, his models like the Sixth Sense and models on marketing and data-driven centers, a lot of decision-making in ITC, because of him, has moved into a data-centered approach. He's also the person behind launch of ISEC, the new socio-economic classification in India. So very, very glad to have him. And then Mohit, he's got experience across many, many clients, and he's known at Havas to have unlocked unmatched value across many sectors. So it's indeed a pleasure to moderate a discussion between such mighty players, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of Q&A after this, and you'll be able to see the level of intellect we have in this panel. So Shashank, sir, I'll start with you. Your key to success and market dominance. How have you been able to do this over so many years, and how important is transformation, and what are the changes you've always been bringing so that the market changes or the shift in dynamics from an entry-level car to luxury to the SUV is now forming a major part, and I'm told that you're also working, you work very closely on retail and how all of that is organized. So how important is data, and what's your really key of always dominating the market?
Yeah, so really the key is something which I think everybody here knows, but sometimes we forget because we are focused on specific things. It's about knowing the customer. So the more you know about the customer, the better it is. And the earlier days, it used to be by looking at some sample of customers, doing some market research, or doing some analysis on psychographics, demographics, and so on. But now we have a lot of data, and a lot of data tech, which enables us to have a much more personalized approach to knowing the customer. And I think with the changing technology, the changing consumer processes, the changing consumer proclivities, Maruti Suzuki has kept pace with it, and that really has been the reason for the success of our market dominance. We still command about 45% market share, and we have been the market leader the last 40 years, actually from the first year of its inception till today. So that's been one of the major, of course, reason is this. Let me tell just quickly, we have now really analyzed the process of car purchase. And there are 26 touch points from the time a consumer decides to buy a car, decides means thinks of buying a car, and he goes through the 26 touch point. It's been researched extensively. You might go and go to the showroom, or you can visit some sites, some forums. You can go to the internet to check on vehicle comparisons and so on and so forth. But there are 26 touch points. We have done 24, has been completely digitalized.
Wow.
And the two which aren't are test drive and actual delivery. Actual delivery तो मेरे ख्याल में अभी नहीं कर पाएंगे digitize. Of course, अगर आपने स्टार वो Star Wars में होता था ना, there used to be, which is still possible in some time in future. At the moment, no. A test drive के लिए ना, you can still have some immersive test drive experiences which you can create on metaverse. The thing is, now you have much more data. Vehicles are also giving you a lot of data. And I think that's the subject we are discussing today, how you can leverage data to approach customer. Earlier, you know, when we had a lot of sensors coming into the car, we used to say, these are wheels which have data. But now we say, cars are actually data with wheels. So that has been the transformation which we have in our mindset. And we have kept pace with this. And as we discuss, really it is about trying to know more and more about the consumer. We have a huge database where we track so many transactions, have so much data. Now, fortunately, we have those tech tools of analytics which help us approach the consumers in a very personalized way. That, I believe, is the success for Maruti Suzuki.
Wow, amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, for those who don't know this, I think you should go to the Nexaverse once. That's also a baby of Shashank sir. And I happened to be in another event where Shashank was speaking. And there was a gentleman in the audience, and Shashank could say what car he is driving, and he could, after that, increase that question and said, actually, this is the car your daughter is also driving. So that's the kind of data that Shashank's been able to collect and then modify and put a structure to his.
It's a little spooky, but you know, it's getting there. We know a lot of.
I ran away from the room.
Yeah. I know which car she came in. So
Wow.
the connected cars enable you to know how many times you brake the car, you apply the brakes. So Vivek, I know you came and you braked the car 113 times today. So that's too much. So better, I don't know how you are driving.
I'm learning, sir. I'll get more refined as I follow you. So, Arnaud, next question to you. As you can see that Indian leaders are taking to data like no one else in the world. And you've heard this now. What's your experience across the world? Is technology really changing consumer behavior? And if it is, how are you tracking it globally?
All right, first, let me just thank the organizer because the event is spectacular. And I just wanted to say thank you for the invitation and for putting such an amazing conversation on display. So it's a really good, really good event. To your question, I think obviously technology is having a massive impact on how brands apprehend consumers, and shoppers, how they engage in increasingly more personalized way, obviously. But I think also it's creating a lot of data that really needs better usage. And I think that's another dimension. It's not just about more data, it's about better data. And I think we talk a lot about all of these aspects of big data and AI and all of the implications. The previous session was super interesting, I think, touching on that. To me, I think the challenge is really getting accurate, high-quality data that really empowers marketers and brand owners and others, agencies and other stakeholders in the industry to make really good decisions. So I think, for me, that's really the challenge. The challenge is not, can I get data? Because there is so much data, right? Including Shashank following you at home to know exactly what's happening, which is disturbing, but I'll make sure to lock my room tonight. But it's obviously amazing. But I think it's really about better quality of data and empowering marketers to really understand what's really underpinning some of the decision. The shopper journey is changing drastically. The rise of mobile and other forms of commerce is changing completely the way consumers engage. We used to have this expression of the moment of truth. And several years ago, I wrote a paper called The Permanent Moment of Truth. And I think that's finally where we are today, which is that decision moment is now in a funnel, is a continuum. It may happen at different points, and the role and the job of marketers and their agencies and their partners is really to be better, not just at the last point and at crediting the last perceived point, but to really be effective throughout the entire journey. And I think that's what the likes of Shashank and his team have clearly succeeded in and achieved, and I'm pretty certain that, you know, in further conversation here, you'll see that that's one of the defining ways that success can really happen for a brand.
Wow, that's quite insightful. So we're able to sort of track the consumer through the full funnel. That's the ideal state. So moving to Shubho. Shubho, you're the star, and with ISEC at one of your credits. Now, now that you understand the consumer, you've been able to sort of segment the consumer well, and you're an FMCG major that operates across segments. Yeah, what, according to you, is now the way to measure effectiveness, success of a campaign that IDC runs? What in your mind is the format, is the structure? Is it very data-driven? Is it still, I mean, the top of the funnel is different, bottom of the funnel is different. What's that single marquee parameter that you use to evaluate a campaign?
Thanks for all the jazz you put around me. So I don't think there is any single parameter that you measure. I think we still, I mean, we are a kind of huge quantum of data we are generating today, but I still think that some of the traditional measures continue, whether it's in the top of mind, whether you're motivated to buy, stuff like that will continue to exist. And they're key parameters. Things have evolved significantly from there over time, and we're kind of deluged with the quantum data that we have with us. It's great to use it, but I'll come to that point of the quantum data that we have today. But what has happened over time is that we've been able to identify newer ways of decision making through data. So a lot of multi-touch attribution, for example, has come to play on a daily basis. What used to happen once in a year, once in 6 months, etc., is now quite regular. Market mix model, which we had kind of forgotten, has again come back to play in a new avatar, because it's important for us to figure out how do we allocate our investments. We still, I mean, thanks to that, we don't have a single measurement of media in this country yet. So hence, these mix models are all extremely important. In addition to that, on your owned assets, and owned assets have become very, very critical. We've started defining new parameters. For example, we have something called a good quality data. What does that mean? For example, when you're creating a communication, you're building, bringing people or traffic to your owned asset on your own brand site or your application. Then on that, what is important is to figure out on scroll depth, people who have spent more time or have seen more quantum content or have come into market, which means that they've clicked on to taking an action in terms of buy behavior. You merge all of that. It does not go beyond 5-7%. I'll be happy to hear otherwise. But that quality, and that's what we call as a new term called the good quality consumer base, is extremely efficient, expectedly so, becomes extremely efficient when we retarget that consumer base going forward. So an ecosystem to be created on your, at your organization level. Although you're a brand owner, you have many broken links in between, a lot of walled gardens in between and so on and so forth, but it's important. If you're working with communities, for example, then what parameters tell you that it's a thriving community? It's number of people or number of comments with more than 10 words. When the interaction between, not with the admin, but between two members, how many such communication pieces have happened? How much of video content has been uploaded? So you have different parameters to understand the role or the efficacy of a community. And so on and so forth. So for example, when you are running a always-on campaign, how do you measure the difference between an always-on campaign versus a start-stop? Does your baseline improve? Do you measure for that baseline? Let's take a simple measure, let's say not aware versus aware. Is your baseline of aware continuously improving? You go deeper, further into image, etc. So I think the number of parameters have increased. And when I was talking about the deluge of data, actually we're generating a lot of data. It is a question to ask how many are we actually utilizing to take decisions? Do we know exactly what is the weightage we need to put on different parameters that we are measuring to understand that this is going to make my campaign more impactful versus more efficient, and where in the funnel do you want to do that, and to what degree. So I think these are still not, we still do not have exact benchmarks for a new launch, for a new communication, or communication with, without celebrity, a reel and a short versus, let's say, an influencer campaign. Influencer campaign is another big difficult space of measurement. But so it's evolving in our eyes to arrive at these benchmarks at every part of the funnel across various mediums that we have.
So Mohit, I think Shuvadip's answer makes it very easy. So you have two demanding marketers here. So we therefore decided to corner you. So now as a very effective agency head, how do you unlock value for clients who are now totally, I mean, from the time when we used to look at simple reach, frequency, and ATS, and maybe you would have very simply a GRP number. The whole world seems to have changed, and we have two big businesses here sitting on the panel. How have you changed, and how are you now trying to unlock value for this ecosystem?
Thanks, Vivek, and thanks to everybody for their valuable views, and thanks for having me here. Well, world has changed completely, and I agree with every one of them. There is nothing which is, every media is an ROI media today. When we started, there used to be thematic spends and spends towards promo. So promo and thematic spends used to be. That's how I got inducted into advertising. That the brand has thematic spends and promo spends, and this is how it is. But over a period of time, we've realized there is nothing called thematic and promo. It's a full funnel planning that you are doing, and you have to give the ROI for each and every penny that you are spending. And as I think Shubhadeep said, there's so much of data that we are becoming data blind at times. We are not even sure whether we are looking at the right data, and more importantly, whether we are taking the right insights out of data. Because data is a very dangerous thing. If we don't see the right insights from it, we can go wrong. So we as Havas have actually taken a lot of steps in that direction. While we have our own models for market mix modeling as well as data analytics, we are launching, or rather at a global level, we have launched a completely new division called CSA, which is going to take care of MarTech and data and analytics. And this is something that we are going to be launching in India also in the first quarter by March. And we are hiring people from IITs and all those kind of institutes which in an agency you never hired, because we need data scientists, and the requirement of people have completely changed. They're going to be working on data stacks. They are going to be working on creating different models and ensuring that the two clients sitting over here are convinced with the input to output assessment that they do, because we for each and every client today, we have to do market mix modeling. Initially, market mix modeling was once in a while thing that used to do for clients. But today, in every 6 months, every campaign that you have done, you have to go back to the client and tell them what has worked, what has not worked. And there also, we don't have all the data, right? So there are many areas on which we take assumptions or take surrogate data. The better the data from the clients and from the environment, the more precise the market mix modeling will be. So I am a huge fan of data myself, but I want to ensure that the data, the output from the data is going in the right direction. Sometimes you become blind, and what happens is you keep churning the bottom of the funnel continuously without putting money behind the top of the funnel, and then we say that the cost per acquisition is increasing, and obviously it will increase because you are not creating new consumers at the top of the funnel. So there are, when there is too much of data, it has its own disadvantages, and one needs to sometimes look at data from a 35,000 feet view also to see how it's coming across the entire spectrum of the funnel and take right decisions. So I think with CSA we are doing that, and we are already doing it across the world, and in India also we have put in a huge team of about 20 people who will be working with us on that.
Wow. Yeah, of course.
So Mohit talked about return on investment, and I'll tell you, few years back, ROAS used to be the only parameter that you used to see when it came to performance marketing. Oh, ROAS 6 hai, 10 hai, 12 hai. Oh, wonderful. And everybody would say, okay, let's put more money because ये तो 1 rupee में 12 rupees वापस कर रहा है. So over time, and we realized that how we need to define basis objective, whether it's basket penetration, somewhere it's about pure play market share. Are we actually using the right search words? Are we casting the net right? Is ROAS the only parameter? So I'm just building on the point that it's the same parameter, but you need to look at it differently depending on the objective, rather than just having one brush and say, "Ki, this is it."
So Shubho, since you speak about it, and in fact I take the question to you only, like there is a quantifiable ROAS that you're talking about, but you also work on some psychographic segmentation. Is there some psychographic data that you sort of pull out, because this segmentation that's really come through on, you know, how educated the female of the household is giving you. So basically the ability to buy does not necessarily mean buying. It's a mindset which may actually lead to buying. So is there a data set now that we, you know, which goes beyond a Google performance campaign, beyond Meta campaign, and it actually relies on your first party data that gives you some sense of the psychographics of your consumer?
So many questions. I'll take a step back, Vivek. So see, at the, I mean, I love to be an insights guy, and psychographic segmentation used to be there for years together, and that used to be one of our ways in which we were to identify consumers. Unfortunately, we found it very difficult to action them at that time, right? Today, what has happened over time is that we've now understood consumers in different ways, in a fashion that we can action those learnings. So, for example, if Ashirwad Multigrain wants to communicate, it knows exactly the kind of consumer segments from a psychographic perspective, right? So, the X is a proactive health seeker. Y is a person like me who wants to run every day, but never does that. And so on and so forth, right? So a person who's very finicky wants to see everything behind the pack, do a lot of research around it, and then end up buying some stuff. So you've understood them, and then you started to create content so that it resonates with what they are cooking and make them excited. Kid comes back and say, YouTube में ये देखा था, आप ये क्यों नहीं बना लेती हो, right? And thirdly, in the afternoon when they used to spend time with their kids, watching television, that also has gone. So she suddenly started to feel that she doesn't have a role in their life of the kid. Now these psychographic perspectives, and hence how does a brand engage with consumers, have become now far more nuanced, far richer, etc., than what it was in the past. Of course, first party data helps in building that. But I'm just saying that at an overall level, that's how psychographics or segments basis psychographic. You were talking about women and education of women, ISEC. I'm just touching upon ISEC for 30 seconds on that. What we found, Vivek, is that the education, the highest educated lady of the house and the quantum education that she's done actually makes a significant difference to the choice making at the house. So the house might have, two households might have the same income and hence the ability to buy stuff. But the kind of choices made in household A versus B, a lot depends on the education of the homemaker. So that is a clear perspective, and hence we think that we need to move ahead.
Interesting, very interesting. So coming to Shashank sir, now that Mohit touched upon IIT IIM, so one of the glorious alumni is here. So, sir, what I sense that you don't agree on a lot of points with.
Correct.
I can
Correct.
see it in your
I think
expression.
AI told you that.
So I can read your expressions through AI enablement. So, would you like to elaborate on where you differ?
Yeah. Actually, I heard people saying about data. I mean, there's something called too much data. You need to look at what data you want. मेरे ख्यालात उसमें थोड़े मुख्तलिफ हैं. They're a little different. I don't think there is too much data. It is, though, correct that what filters you apply and what insights you use to use that data for your marketing objectives, that is something which is important. And you could say, and I have I've seen some examples. For example, earlier we used to have in our CDP, we used to track only the transactions of consumers. We have a DMS which tracks all, and in automobiles, there are a lot of transactions, insurance, finance, payment, EMIs, service, and so on. Then you get vehicles to, a pollution check, and so on. So there are lots of opportunities to get that data. I'll give you examples where at the time when we collected the data, it was like, what are you doing this data for? There was a 2005 WagonR buyer. We collected information every time he came to our service. We knew that he had a daughter who would be, and you might ask, why do you want to collect data on somebody's daughter? It is, when she was passing out of college, it was recent, 2019 or 18, I think, from Gargi College in Delhi. Yeah, economics. So we knew that she would actually want a car because she would be going into a workforce. We went to her because data through that. We didn't know at that time, of course, when we started collecting data, whether she would actually complete her studies or not, or whether she will be in Gargi College or in Canada or somewhere. We didn't know that. But we went there and she said, I don't want to buy a WagonR, that's my dad's car. So we said, no, there is this third generation of WagonR which is here. You know what? She's driving a WagonR today.
Oh.
So at that time, it's only the filter that you apply. For example, if I know that here is a Manchester United fan, okay?
No.
No, okay. Wrong data. You know whose data is wrong? His. I know he's a Manchester United fan. So you might ask, and we have that information because we are stitching information from not only transaction now, but interaction, whether it's website, whether it is social media, tools that we employ. Why do we want to know whether he is a Manchester United fan? We never use the data. We are now doing a POC and it's giving us excellent results. The day Manchester United loses, next day if he comes to buy accessories from us or a car from us, don't sell him accessories. However, if Manchester United qualifies for the Champions League, here is the time you can put as many accessories as you want. And actually, we are doing a POC, it's giving us excellent results. You know, there are cameras. I just joked, he braked 113 times when he drove the car. Actually, that data is available. You might say, why do you want to know why somebody is braking so many times? Why is somebody using brakes so many times? You know, a car, 20,000 kilometers, you replace, you check the brake pad. But if somebody is braking too often, you can actually have a replacement at 10,000 kilometers. We do that. We go to the guy, we go to Vivek and say, यार तुम बहुत ज़्यादा ब्रेक लगाते हो तो अपना चेक कराओ. वो देखते ब्रेक पैड खराब हो रहा है, replace करो. We replace it. It's good for him. It's safer also. There are now cameras which you track the car because in insurance claims it helps you. So there are dash cams. You also have cameras which track the driver's retina or photographs you have. So you might say, yaar, why do you want to photograph data? Why do you want to collect data on somebody's photograph? Of course, he's good looking, but maybe.
Okay, give it back to me. It's fine.
Maybe Vivek isn't. So why do you want to collect this data? Why do you want to collect this data? Listen, we are now doing actually a retina movement where you can tell the driver if he's distracted.
Wow.
It's safer for him. If he's distracted, if he's sleepy, you can, because cars are connected now, you can tell them that, listen, you have to park and take some rest. So that is, so there is no such thing as too much data. What I believe is the filters that you apply, that is important. And in a cookieless world, which is actually was the topic of this discussion, first party data is most important. The more you collect, the better you will be at predicting the behavior modeling of whatever cohorts you decide on. And you have those tools available. So that is my basic ikhtilaf, the difference
Amazing.
with the opinion
Yeah.
which
In
is
fact,
being.
very contrary to the topic of this discussion, when I hear Shashank, I feel whether he ever needed cookie in the first place. He's got so much data.
Yeah, so cookies are, of course, very important. We still require more information. I mean, ideally, we would like to have more information, even though we have a lot of information. But like second-party collaborations, you have those data clean rooms that we now have for people like in Amazon or Facebook or walled gardens, as they call. You can get more information. You have a better view of the consumer. That's what you really want. I am sure anyone here who is in any business would want to know more about his customers. That's the basic. Then you apply your filters and see how to approach. And of course, with this cookieless world, there are problems. We will have, for example, a problem with measurement. At least we don't see an immediate solution. There are, I know, solutions, but probably difficult to put budgets through because, the cost of a conversion or a cost because of the measurement issue might now look more high. So it could be a problem in organizational behavior itself in terms of the budgeting that you do or the spends that you sign off. So those problems would be there in the cookieless world. I'm sure there are solutions which tech will offer, and that's why I believe data is the more, the better. Whether you want to take a helicopter view, as he said, 35,000 feet, whether you want to go at 50,000 or you want to watch it from space, up to you. But you don't have to, just because you have too much data, doesn't mean that you have to watch it from 5 feet or 6 feet. Sure. You can go up to space if you want.
Amazing. So Arnaud, that actually, the buck stops at you, where the marketers are using surrogates, they're using first-party data, and you're actually putting some of my ROs in jeopardy. So it's very important that you come up with a solution for a cookieless world, which is ready for India.
Yeah. And so I think, overall, this is obviously a reality globally, right? And again, it's a progressive reality. It's been a known challenge or reality for a while. We've built, with regards to Nielsen, we built the Nielsen ID, which we launched in 2020. From there, we are now adding hashed emails, HEMS, in terms of our identification capabilities there. It's one of the options, and it's certainly the one that is consented, and that's a really important part, because I think, to me, there is a trifecta of topics that we have to kind of understand. One is the regulatory aspect. Today, I think a number of initiatives have proven that privacy matters, not just to politicians, but it matters to consumers. But there's different levels of understanding of what privacy means. And so I think the role that regulators play, to me, is extremely important, but it has to be more about oversight than overreach. And I think that's really a big challenge, and at times it can be very complex. And we see things like, broadcasting regulation bills and things like that coming up, and we need to understand what they mean in terms of the third point, which I'll come to in a second. The second aspect is making sure that we build solutions that become universal. Today, HEM or UIDs, especially the 2.0, are still not yet universal. As I said, there are other options. There are IP addresses, which have their own complexities. There's a number of other things. And I think for us, the focus is really on developing a platform, and that's the purpose of the Nielsen ID, which can accept a number of formats and a number of tools. And the third point is really, in my opinion, super important, which is the independence. For us, it's a huge focus. We are completely independent. We are truly the independent third party in all of these conversations here. Yeah. We're not owned by a media group. We really are a standalone business today, and we focus exclusively on media and audience measurement. And I think that's the strength that is deserved by the fast-growing and the most important markets. And we can see our presence reflects that today. And I think India is an incredible market. The energy, the enthusiasm, and I think the quality of the work done, we've heard some amazing examples already so far. And so for me, it's really, really exciting in terms of what's coming. We need to think about better partnerships. That's for sure one of my mandates for this year. So very, very keen, especially if there are some of you in the audience, to have conversations about partnerships and such conversations, such discussions. But it's also about how we bring our product expertise to a market like India. Today in the room, I have some of my colleagues, including one of our global product leads. And I think it's really important that we are here, we understand this market, we spend time listening to clients, and we help build the measurement that India deserves in the best possible way.
Wow, that's an amazing closing remark on the session. I think very amazingly put forward by all of our panelists.